So, hello and welcome to the next starters update. Now it's 1880 in my quest to bring the automation Gameworld to life in the game Transport Fever 2. So what has happened? So we now have a good and stable supply of machines across Gasmea, and we are slightly producing more than we ship. So 140 is being produced, 138 is being shipped. We are slightly steel limited, but that doesn't really matter because every city seems to get what they want and need. And here we see also tools and machines being ready to be transported over to the Great Plains. Then, speaking of the Great Plains, we now have a much more extended train line. So it's not just a terminus in Picton anymore, but now this line is actually going through all the way past the Gasmean core lands into the area that's the stand-in for France. And at this time, 1880, this would have been an autonomous country. If I understand the law correctly, so they would have now a bit belatedly gotten onto the bandwagon and use trains. And also, given the difficulty of this terrain here, so with the bridge here, another bridge here, and not that much space to place tracks, and a big tunnel over here at the border between the French area and the German area, so Schemland, then it's understandable that they weren't the pioneers, but rather now that the train technology has matured a bit, they now finally managed to build a passenger line all the way to the capital of Schemland, Willburg. So a bit of a grandiose station, maybe just for one track. So they put the exchange for the coaches in front, but I think they sort of like the grandiose buildings, and this is fit for a capital. So we can also check, for instance, Rensweiler now has an ample supply of machines being carried here all the way from Ellisbury. So that's one line, that's the mid-blue one that will appear here, going here all the way across here down to the cargo exchange station for the Ellisbury cargo station. Also plenty of tools lying around here going north to CB, but that was a bit of a jam, and now these are back into things. So I think one of these ships here should be the... Yeah, here is a tool one, and I think there's another one right behind, so that was a bit of a jam, and now this is resolved and will deal with the oversupply, or the seeming oversupply of tools. And we can say the same for Kirkstadt up here in the north, so they also have now machines, so now machines are now properly distributed throughout Gasmea. And yeah, we had the big update in terms of passengers to be transported across the Great Plains, and one more passenger line, so from Harford going north, on only single track, because this ends here in Midbury. So how full is this? Not that full. So simply connecting here Midbury and also going steeply up the hill, and then through a tunnel even across this mountain ridge and into Midbury. The side effect of these additional lines have been that there is now more demand for food. So now the food factory up here, which has been running since I think almost the start of the game, is now close to its limit, and will upgrade. No, it won't upgrade anymore. I think it's just at the maximum. At this point, 300 out of 400, and I think 400 is the maximum. So it probably will need another farm to supply it beyond the 300 mark in the future. So cities grow when they are connected to other cities and get supplied. So Kirkstadt has now machines, so now has 30% more inhabitants, and these need more bread or more food, and the same with Rensweiler, so they have now bigger demand for bread, and I think both are supplied here by this food factory. So the last thing for the future in Gasmea is then to connect oil, and but that's then something for the future, and also on a rather low level, because there wasn't that much oil being used, so maybe we just supply fuel so that they can actually start developing cars. Not that this has any effect in the Transport Fever 2 mechanics, but more in the lore, so that fuel exists and can then be used to power the very first cars. And otherwise, maybe some more passenger lines in Gasmea as well, because the network gets more valuable the more connections it has. So Hetvesia now has also its machines factory going, slowly ramping up, because it has a bit of a chore, and here it's not that ideally placed up here in the mountains as the stand-in for the Tannenstein city. So this is not the most elegant way of supplying it, but it's too far up to be connected directly to a port, and there are no other options at this point than using horse carriages. And this looks a bit silly with these horses getting the logs and the steel up there. So this is carrying up steel, and these are different types because they need to carry the machines back, and machines don't fit on this horse carriage with stakes. You need the closed one for that. So that's why we have two different types here. One to carry up the lumber, and the other one to carry up the steel, and then machines down. Machines go to different places. So to Marina, to Berlau, and to Meereshofen. So Hetvesia and Fruinian cities which need machines. Hasn't happened yet. So this took a while because the steel comes all the way from Fruinia. The lumber was easy, so we had our Schuffenthal sawmill, and it now supplies both the tools factory in Gernau, which has not that much stuff to ship, and the machines factory here in Tannenstein. It might now need also a second forest to support it, because we seem to be lumber limited here. So let's see how that plays out over the next years. So where do we get the steel from? Fruinia, in particular the Vita steel mill next to Terzo. For steel we need ore and coal. So the coal is coming down from Montevilla, so all that way. So all these horse carriages here carry down coal that you can see here on the back. Where do we get ore? Ore comes from the Montbinchi ore mine, so over here. Same story with horse carriages bringing down the ore, so you can see it here on the back of the horse carriage here. Loaded onto ships in Marina, then along the coast into the steel mill, and we seem to be ore limited, although production is fine. It's more than we need, so we need just 100 in the Tannenstein machines factory, so this is fine. And we are sort of limited with what the horse carriages can carry without clogging up the roads entirely. Steel is then carried back in the same ships that brought the ore back to Marina, and then from Marina over to the Tannenstein factory with a port in Karlstadt. That's the pink line here, and then the machines go on the way back then to Berlau, to Friedheim, and then back to Raikanta. So that's the cities in Fruinia that need machines. No changes here in terms of train lines. I think I swapped the trains, to something more modern, something a bit more quick than the starter trains that I think we still had in 1875, but the lines are now final. There is no room to build additional train lines in this mountainous terrain. Fruinia doesn't even have cities up here, so these are all stand-ins for cities here, these industries, because there is no space for them to grow in the cramped map. Archanans don't have machines yet. They get some lumber, or they got some lumber, because the port and the cargo station are connected to the machines factory, but I stopped that so that only the tools factory gets supplied with lumber, and they are now doing a great job in supplying all the cities that need them. So all in Archana, and so northern cities like Mentaj have their first tools at least, which are carried over this mountain ridge by trains. So Vashduk is now a big hub where passenger traffic and cargo traffic meets. So we can now carry stuff over the mountain ridge here, and the horse carriages have been replaced entirely by trains. So here we have one bringing bricks, bringing lumber and stone over here, and then it will take the bricks the other way around. And here we have the other train taking bread and tools over the ridge and bringing grain back to supply the food factory next to Kronograd, which isn't even at the limit yet, although this might need some more ships here. This should still work. And I think that has been a big shift, and we have a nice hub here with lots of busy trains and ships as well. So here we have one passenger train that also now uses this line towards Sliza. So let's have a look at the construction of that. So here we have now a big both a cargo station with these two lines, and even here the train struggled to move all the grain away, all the stone away, and to an extent the lumber that here comes from that sawmill, and then a small passenger station, and it goes here up the hill. And you see the train here struggling. It's hardly doing 20. Some impressive bridge work where it crosses the road, vanishes into a tunnel, and then goes down to the Vashduk cargo station. Hans have been further busy on the passenger train line, so now we have Volkov, Novobeskov, and Sarki hooked up to a train network. So we have now a basin connection going clockwise and counterclockwise. So that was, I think, a little bit different how things were planned, but it made sense. So now the lines go one time around here. They both pass Glensk, and they both go to Kronograd further, and then Sarki, Novobeskov, Volkov, and also the other way around, so that you can drive, or you can travel here around this circle, and also go over to the capital as well, where both these basin connection trains end. So that was the more elegant way of making sure that you have a decent flow of passengers here around the basin. Not making a big profit, but yeah, it's still useful because the cities all get a boost from the additional connections. So here we're getting, in this case, 10%, and probably once the trains get faster, 20% a population boost, and therefore more demand for these goods. We're still struggling for stones despite the train line, simply because we have, I think, 2 trains each, so 2 trains for this type of line and 2 trains for that type of line, plus the lone passenger train, and this is already getting pretty busy here. So what we need is stronger trains and also faster trains downhill, because it's now limited to 50 by virtue of the cargo wagons being limited to 50. So we're going to only get that in 1900, so then this will be the next big shift here to move more stuff across the ridge. So yeah, we have now tools in Mara, for instance, and also tools in Tuscala, so that now works. And I think that's been it. So comparatively, not that many things have happened in the last 5 years compared to the years before, because these train lines are all hugely expensive. So not the train tracks themselves, but the trains are the most expensive thing at this point, especially compared to what you need for horse carriages or what you need for ships. Also, less here, but more over in Gasmea, how to build these tracks here, that there was the need to demolish a fair amount of buildings, and that costs. So if I were to demolish this building, this is 150,000, and here where the station is and where the tracks are, there were buildings, and the same applied for Chapelle to an extent. That was, I think, less painful, but Willburg also, this was some more things that needed to be demolished to place this grand station here. So that was this overview. So we're now having two reasonably busy train lines with going over ridges, so they are rather slow. One here, and the other one over here towards Ellisbury. So we're now getting some more moving bits of the map. Plans for Hetvesia Fruinia, so to make sure that this machine factory keeps running, so we need probably more supply for lumber. There is no oil to be found here, so they have to draw oil for somewhere else. Next plans for Archana is then to finally get the machines production going, and that means again the steel production. Coal is easy. Maybe I made it too easy when I simply plopped down a coal mine here. Ore is getting more interesting because we have lots of ore mines, and one more down here, but these are all outside the basin, so we have to somehow get ore into the basin, and probably not via horse carriage, and also probably not through this train line, because we have now 5 trains on this rather short piece of track, and they're all reasonably long, and they stand in each other's way already, probably plenty of times, so have to find another way to get the ore here so that we can start producing machines, and that's the big plan. I think the passenger network is also finished here in Archana. Maybe from Sliza to Kula, but then again maybe not, because it's also then limited in terms of terrain here, so how to get the tracks past the farm or past this mountain ridge, so maybe the train tracks are indeed finished, and then it's more optimizing, maybe getting rid of this our first ever train here, the very short train between Kronagrad and Mara that doesn't do much at this point, and the same here with Sliza. Vastuk was also a train with just two stations, and no, that's not that one. Somewhere here. It's always the last one. Where are we? Oh, here we have 22, which is, it's full, but still not the best, most efficient way of running trains. So yeah, that's then the next step still. 1885 when we will have the next update. As a bonus, so maybe take literal scenic route across the areas of not France and not Germany from Ellisbury, and to ride along. So I'll fast forward till this one has reached Ellisbury, and then we'll take an onboard journey across the entire area. Otherwise, see you then for the next 1885 update. So in case you're wondering, the third track here is for the train coming from Harford going across the ridge. And the other two here are for the Great Plains Shemland connection. So we are now in the French-speaking part of what would later become Gasmea, but is, I think, still independent at this point in time. And again, I've built a track that I can easily put a second train on it, or a different trains that don't stop at every station. So we're still in the French-speaking part, now approaching Chapelle. So the mountain ridge ahead is at the Schwerthöhe. I think that's sort of a natural border between the French and the German-speaking parts of Gasmea. So next stop is after that mountain ridge, Rensweiler. Now into the longest tunnel on the map, and I guess the folks here needed to be expert tunnel builders before they could build the train tracks, probably similar to a real-life Switzerland. They had to deal all with their mountains as well. And now towards the final stop, now we're getting to a single track. Because it was a bit of a tricky thing to build into Willburg. And they will have had enough expenses building the big tunnel, or at least contributing to the big tunnel together with the French-speaking folks. So now we're approaching a Willburg station, fitting for a capital, and here, horse carriages you can take north to Bad Neusund, or further east to Rosendorf. And that concludes our bonus travel, so we won't go back towards Picton. So I hope this was interesting, and yeah, stay tuned for the next update in 1885. See you then.